If electricity is the movement of a charged particle, then we're going to need something for the charged particle to move through. It turns out certain materials allow charged particles to move better than others, and they fall into one of two classifications: conductors and insulators. A conductor is a material that allows charge to move through it much easier than an insulator. And since the protons can't move, it's the electrons that are flowing. So if you look at this conductor here, which is basically like a wire, here's your proton right here in the middle. The electrons will move in one direction, and they move from atom to atom, and they'll slowly flow down the electrons. And notice I said slow. The speed of the electron is actually not that fast. Now, conductors are often metals: copper, gold, silver, aluminum. These are all great conductors. Most wire in a house, for example, is made out of copper. But as you can see, here are some example conductors: silver spoon, gold, copper, steel, and seawater. The one that stands out the most right here that's being different is the seawater. And we all know that water is dangerous to be around when there's electricity. But if you have deionized water, that is water without any ions or charged particles in it, it actually will not conduct electricity. But the thing is, almost all water has ions in it. You can buy a deionizer machine. It costs like $15,000. So they use those in labs. But for the most part, even a puddle will have ions. Even rainwater will have charges in it. Insulators are the opposite of conductors. They don't allow electrons or charged particles to move very much. Glass, wood, rubber. These are all examples of insulators. Diamonds, oil. Notice in the drawing here, the electron is not able to move. It's basically stuck with its atom, and it can move on either side of its atom, but it can't move from atom to atom. Here is a periodic table, and you'll notice here are the metals, and here are the nonmetals. And most of our conductors are in the metals. So here's the big row right here, number 11. We have copper, silver, and gold. Carbon is a giant insulator. Now let's look at why metals conduct things, whereas carbon-based things don't. So here's a picture of carbon. You notice it has 6 electrons. It's pretty small. And pretty much everything around you right now is made out of carbon. Everything you are made out of carbon. Everything around you is carbons in everything. So rubber is made out of carbon. Glass, oil's a hydrocarbon. Diamond is compressed coal, so carbon. And dry wood, which is basically a plant, is carbon. Now let's look at the metals here. Notice how many electrons the metal. This is copper and this is gold. So obviously the electrons can get away from the atom a little bit easier. And when they go, they basically come and go. So when the gold loses an electron, it also gains an electron, and they flow through the metal that way. The major point here is carbon's an insulator. It's small, it hangs onto its electrons, while metals have tons of electrons, and they allow electrons to move between atoms. So this right here is a wooden can. You can think of it as it's a piece of wood, and this is an insulator. Notice the electrons can move, but they don't move very much, and they don't leave the atom. Here's what a conductor looks like. This is a metal bucket, and you can see the electrons are free to move,